after this research, or maybe building from this research, what are what are the next questions for you that are kind of mulling around in your head that you would like to answer, that may build off of this research, or maybe, something completely different? Where is your mind at right at this point?
So I'm really interested in global change biology, which really means looking at patterns of change with climate change globally. So I've started to work on that now. So I'm looking at temperature, size, and growth in commercially important fish. I do, right now I'm focusing on Alaska. I do plan to extend that globally, and kind of just look at patterns of size and temperature because, with warming temperatures, fish are getting smaller. And so one thing that's really cool about NOAA is that I started, talking to scientists there, and they were like, oh, fish are, some of the early life history scientists were like, oh, fish are really resilient to climate change. And I was like, what are you talking about? They're getting smaller. That's all the macroecology work shows. And they were like, well, they're larger earlier in life. And I was like, oh, well, of course that's true because fish grow faster under warmer conditions, but they're going to grow, they're going to be smaller overall. And so what I'm really trying to do now is kind of understand that and understand how that affects fisheries productivity in the future. A lot of my PhD work was thinking about physiology and how it underlies life histories and population dynamics. And so what comes with that is thinking about oxygen, not just temperature. And so a lot of the climate change work has been on temperature. I think we're missing a huge part with oxygen. Oxygen fuels metabolism, which metabolic rate, supposedly governs almost every process biological in your body. So I'm really interested in kind of bringing oxygen into this, and then just more broadly thinking about global change, like species redistribution, thinking about mechanisms underlying that, like temperature and oxygen, seeing if we can use physiology to predict life histories and higher level processes such as ecosystem dynamics and ecosystem functioning. I also have worked a lot across species, not just fish, but across vertebrates. And I really am fascinated by that work, really comparing vertebrates. So like thinking about sharks and fish, but then thinking about how they compare to birds and mammals, and throwing reptiles in there. And so I'm really interested in kind of continuing that broad scale, kind of vertebrate wide work. And of course, I would classify myself as a fish or shark, expert or biologist, but I do think about a lot how there's different patterns of growth. One of the reasons why I think the field learned that oxygen was so important is because we're seeing larger magnitudes of change in size in aquatic species. And so that is where oxygen started kind of rolling about in people's minds, like, oh, it must be related to oxygen because there's less oxygen in water than air. And so I think like those comparisons can be really interesting. And I see myself kind of in that area in the future.